Alright, so I've been wanting to make this video for a while now where I basically just sit around and talk about the book that I made that's like literally the cover art for my channel. And I figured now was a good time to do that considering there's this like big sale that's going on the website Smashwords, which is like one of the sites where my book is distributed. And yeah, it'd be cool if anyone watching this wants to go and like pick it up because it's free. Like I just chose to make it free. But you don't have to, like I'm not here to just, I guess beg people to buy my stuff or whatever. But yeah, I wanted to talk about like, I don't know, just some of the creative stuff that like went into my time writing this. And I don't know if anyone else has had any similar experiences with just like writing and their process or whatever, that's cool if you want to share that. But for me, like I put about 4 years into writing this thing, and it was very interesting because like writing this book as like the first thing that I've ever like published or anything like that technically kind of started like all the way back when I was in high school, because like when I was like 16 or so, I used to carry around like a little like pocket notebook, and it was like, I mean, obviously I don't have it with me right now, but like it was like, I don't know, like this big or something like that, and I just carried it around in my pocket. And this was around the time I started to like just get into philosophy and just, I guess, like philosophical ideas. So I would literally just write down my own thoughts in it, and like, but there was like literally no structure to it, like at all. So I would just write stuff down and just have it exist there. And I filled out like 4 of those little notebooks and stuff like that throughout, like, I honestly forget what year. I think it was like my last 2 years of high school. And then when I went to college, obviously I got busy with just like everything that has to do with undergrad, so I didn't have time to write in those. So I went a period of time leading up to like, I think, sophomore year where I wasn't really writing that frequently. But then I went and I looked at those writings from high school, and I was thinking to myself, why don't I just like publish this? But then like I started like reading through it because I was like, okay, I'll figure out a way to like publish this stuff since I have like 4 notebooks worth of it. And I just started thinking, I really feel like I should elaborate on all of this stuff that I wrote like when I was younger, and even see if I still agree with my younger self, or if there's anything that like I think just, like completely differently about now. And so like that started something, because I literally just like went through all of the pages that I had, and I just like tried to sort them out on an old laptop that I had. Well, not an old laptop, it was new at the time. It was like one of the Microsoft Surface laptops, like one of the older models. But I literally took pictures of like every single page, put it on my laptop on my computer, so like I wouldn't have to like, physically flip through the books. And then, yeah, I was just like reading through everything and trying to like basically just like not argue with myself, but just, I guess, talk to myself and like see how I felt about whatever ideas like were in that when were in those notebooks. But yeah, and for a while, I would say for like a 6-month period, I didn't really have like a set vision for like how I wanted the book to be. But yeah, eventually I kind of settled on just like going with, because at first like I was thinking about like having everything be like essays, and like if anyone were to like ever like go through like my Google Docs where like I keep like my manuscripts and stuff like that, I have a lot of stuff labeled as like essay number, because I was like, why don't I just like write it in the format of an essay? But then later down the line, I didn't like that, and so I was like, these are just like chapters of whatever the topic is. And yeah, I settled with that, and I realized I really just wanted everything to like reflect the human condition and just how it relates to like the universe, both like a little bit in a literal sense, but more so in a philosophical sense. But like, I don't know, I guess like in a very grounded way, because I totally know that like not a lot of people, or rather, yeah, not a lot of people are like super like mystical or whatever. Um, so I really wanted to approach like the commentary for like every single chapter to be as if I was trying to explain the significance of humanity to someone who is not from Earth. But again, I wasn't trying to like infuse a bunch of like mysticism in that. Um, I was, yeah, kind of looking at the human race and just like everything that we do and everything that we engage in, including myself, like from an outside perspective. Like if I was looking at us as a species and like really trying to hone in on our place in this world, in this universe, like what would I say? And that was kind of my approach that I like started with, and that like I still have for like the most recent book that I'm writing, like the second one. um but I'll get that more into that later. um but yeah, so that was like the approach that I really settled it on, maybe like 6 months to a year after I like got started on everything. And then one of the things that like I would say has been most significant with me in terms of like writing the chapters and everything, both for this book that's already published and the one that I'm writing now, is, and I don't know if anybody else has like or, does this, but like I intentionally like take a very long time to write my chapters. Like these days I give myself full permission to just take like a month, a month and a half just to write one chapter, because like the thing is for me, I like really have to like sit with the topic and like sit with it and dwell on it, and like, and even in some cases like think about how the topic relates to my own life, and think about how it may or may not have affected my own life in my own personal experience. And that's something that I gotta dwell on. I have to like sit with those feelings and extrapolate them over weeks and weeks. um, but I do kind of like, give myself like loose deadlines basically, because like this is all self-published stuff for the time being. But like there are times where I because I keep a separate book that like that keeps track of how long I'm taking for pretty much everything, and I'll look at it and I'll say, okay, it's been like almost 2 months. I'm almost done with the chapter, but I really want to write out these specific points or whatever. And so I'll tell myself that I should get on that. Um, but yeah, that that's something that I do in terms of like writing everything out, and just like basically playing the long game with myself in terms of just literally taking my time and yeah, giving myself loose deadlines, but like at the end of the day, like I'm the one that's going to decide like how much creative time I'm giving myself. um and it's so interesting, like that's something that like sticks out in my head, because not a little bit in college, but more so in high school. It's like the opposite of what I used to do in high school, because like way back in high school, bro, it was like I was an AP student, so having to do writing assignments with very little time, like under an hour to do writing assignments, and have them be like good and I guess like scholarly or whatever. That was something that like we had several teachers that like tried to nurture within me and like my classmates and stuff. And then I grew up to be the exact opposite, where I literally take a ton of time to do any sort of writing. Like even outside of this, like outside of the writing that I'm doing for these books, I have like a dream journal that I may or may not like think about publishing someday. But like I take a long time to publish that as well. Like I could have one dream and it'll take me like a couple days to like write out everything that happened, just because I'm literally just taking my time with it, and just being chill while I write. And I've found that that's what brings the best writing out for me. But yeah, I've just found that so funny, considering that, yeah, there was a point in my life where I was accustomed to like having to do writing assignments in like 45 minutes, and I took that like so seriously, bro. It's funny looking back, and it wasn't like a bad experience or anything like that, but it's just funny. It's just funny given like where I am in my life now in terms of writing and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, and it's like, college was different but also similar, just in the sense that, like, and I know a lot of people have experience too, both with like undergrad and graduate stuff. Like, you're writing under someone else's deadline, and you're writing to meet their expectation, if it's a professor or whoever. So I definitely had that experience. Albeit the deadlines were like, they gave me much more time, so it was like, either finish this in a week or 2 weeks, or this is your final writing assignment for the semester. But even that, it's like you have to like meet checkpoints and like have certain parts of like whatever research paper finished at certain points in the semester. So like there's that structure that like someone else has laid out for you, that depending on like what you're doing in college, or whatever institution you research or study at or are just a part of, like you don't have like full control over. But for me, um yeah, now just where I am in life, I definitely enjoy like uh being able to just be chill and just, again, literally give myself time to just like sit here like I'm doing right now, to dwell on whatever the topic is, and whatever, even like, even the counter arguments to whatever I feel about the topic. um Actually, because I just thought it is interesting, because I just said like, sit here and think about that stuff, when in actuality, um I do my best thinking when I'm not like physically, like literally sitting, even though like I am right now. Like, a lot of times, um when I'm like doing all this stuff, like I'm like actually thinking things through, I'm actually like writing and stuff like that. I'm actually walking while I do it. And that's a weird thing with me, that's been the case like my entire life, where I do my best thinking when I'm walking or just moving in general. Like, being sedentary and being stationary, like, it's not something that I have a problem with, but like even back when I was, because for a good while, me and my family lived in a pretty small apartment. Like, I would literally just like walk in circles when I was like, had like a ton of stuff on my mind, and everything. And I'm still like that. Like when I was in the revisionary phase for this book, like I had everything written out. um and yeah, I was doing like revisions. I forget what like draft I was on, because like I think the book had like five five-ish drafts, and I say that because the way I revised the whole thing was a bit weird. Just like, I didn't go from like top down, I like revised like sections of it. But it was like five drafts, at least five, I think. um but yeah, so I would literally, I would walk around and like do the revisions and the edits on my phone, because I had and I still do have the manuscript on my phone. And so I would do that just like on my college campus. And like, not the year the book came out, but like the year before that, so 2019, I did a study abroad session. And I distinctly remember I would get up early like every single day, and I would take this little bus they had to the um, international building that was on the college campus. And I would go in there, and I would literally just walk around the buildings like early in the morning, while like editing and revising my writing on my phone. And I don't know, like, just like being in motion like that, it just helps me focus. And like, I still write like that. Like, I'll literally be out somewhere, like physically doing something, and if I like either remember something or like think of something important related to like what I want to do with a chapter or something like that, I'll literally just just take out my phone and just like start writing it in the midst of me, multitasking and moving and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's something people would like look down upon, the fact that like a lot of my writing I literally do on my phone, but I don't really see like a big deal with it. Um, yeah, I don't know if anyone else does that, let me know. I will admit that there are times where like I actually sit on my laptop and open the manuscript on a desktop, but most of the time I'm like literally on my phone working on the chapters and the manuscript, um, and just doing that like while being in motion. Um, and if I'm not, and it's also funny because I guess I don't know. Somebody watching this, tell me if these are weird habits to have. Because in addition to that, another thing that I do is I have found a lot of solace, not so much within this first book that's on sale now, but with the second book that I'm getting closer to being done with. Um, I do a lot of what I think is my best writing, like really late at night, because honestly, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I work a 9 to 5, and there's a lot of times when like during the day, like that needs my attention, and then like a lot of other things need my attention, and like there's plenty of days where like things are moving fast or things need my focus in a myriad of ways. And so when I like actually find the time to write and like I was saying earlier, like really like reflect on what I'm interested in writing about, like that stuff comes at like 3 a.m. when like it's like dead silence in my house, and a lot of times I'm the only one awake. And yeah, like just literally just sitting in the dark, just writing about philosophy, I guess. But again, like I said, and I think an earlier video I posted, like trying to make it philosophy that doesn't take itself too seriously and that like isn't too mystical and isn't too uptight in my worldview or whatever. Um, yeah, like those are all things that I quite literally sit with at like 3 a.m. Um, and it's weird because like I'll walk around my house at 3 a.m. doing that, but then sometimes I'm also just in my bed doing that. So again, like it's not a thing where I can't be stationary, but like sometimes like I need to be in motion, but then other times like I don't know, I guess what I'm trying to say is like it's a like what draws the inspiration can be a bit inconsistent, or it depends on the moment is like what I'm trying to say, I guess. But yeah, I don't know if anyone else has experienced that. And like it's interesting because in that same vein of just being up late at night while like ruminating on all this stuff that I personally think is like super significant just to us as people and human beings, it's like, and I definitely tried to do this with the first book, and I'm trying to do this again with the second book, is literally arguing with myself and like playing devil's advocate with myself against my own points, and just trying to like think about things from a different point of view, because I think that's important, and it just helps you extrapolate the nuances and just the layers of varying topics. But like I think a lot of people would agree with me when I say that like you don't have to have like the answers to everything. Like I think there's literally one of the chapters that I have completed for the second book, one of the main points that I make is that like there's literally a counter argument to like every opinion that you could possibly have that exists somewhere, but that doesn't mean that you have to be ready to debate all of it. Like it's just not necessary. But it is interesting when you just think about ideas in general, but yeah, I would also say like debating myself also for me helps with like the editing, because it's like in addition to taking several months to write the chapters and everything, when I'm revising it, like what I'll do is I'll literally distance myself from my writing and like not touch it, and I won't look at it at all for like, I don't know, a couple months or so, and then I'll go back and reread like whatever the draft is, and I'll read it as if I'm a different person, like, well, not that I'm a different person, but like I'll read it as if I'm reading a stranger's work, and yeah, I'll argue with myself and like not be afraid to look at my own writing and say, bro, what are you talking about here? And yeah, in doing that, like that helps me to like come out of it for a second and say, okay, like I need to change this or whatever, or I need to spend a couple days like rewriting whatever. But yeah, like just observing and perceiving my own work as if it's someone completely different like helps, and like yeah, being harsh on myself in that way and disagreeing with myself, um if I'm, you know, making a point that like doesn't make total sense. And it is interesting because it's like, um this is something different but like also kind of connected, um because even now, like after the book has been out, because I published it technically at the end of 2020, but that was the ebook version, and then the print version came out a couple months in 2021. So it's been like 2+ years since it's been out, and even looking back at some of the stuff I wrote like now in 2023, um I it's something that I'm still very proud of, but like I guess just in me trying to just grow as a person and grow as a writer, I definitely see like how I could have like, you just in general could elaborate on some of the stuff I was talking about. Like there's so much more to add on to what I was saying about certain topics. I don't think that necessarily takes away from what I wrote or like what I was introducing, because at the end of the day, a lot of what I wanted out of that book and what I hope like people get out of it, like reading it now, is to like really reflect just within themselves about on these topics that I think are important and like have practical influence on our lives, um, and come up with like their own assertions and hot takes on these things that I think are, yeah, important but also profoundly relevant to our more existential existence and stuff like that. Um, Even if like whoever reads it like disagrees with me, like that's fine. Um, that's very much the core of what I wanted to get out of the first book. But again, like reading it now, like I could definitely see how someone else could read it and say, there's even more layers than what I pointed out in it. Um, and I think that's, you know, that's good, if anything. But yeah, who knows? I was actually thinking about recently, like maybe like one day I'll like rewrite some of those chapters. Not in the sense that like they necessarily like need to be rewritten, but just, you know, like as I get older, like I'm bound to like keep thinking about everything I wrote about. Like, because it's not like I just published everything and just stopped thinking about those things in like a philosophical context. But it's like, who knows? Like maybe 10 years from now, I'll rewrite a lot of that stuff with new perspectives and like new things to add on to the commentary. And that'd be cool. I don't know how many more books I'll write, but I know I'm writing at least this one, and I've already gotten started working on the third one. Um, Mainly, like literally just a list of topics that I find like super interesting and that I think I have something to say on that are not included in the second volume that I'm writing right now. That will hopefully be released by the end of 2023. Hopefully holiday 2023. Hopefully. It's also, I feel like, yeah, I didn't even mention yet, but I feel like a big thing with like all of this creative stuff in terms of doing this writing hinges upon like perceiving human beings in some way, shape, or form. So I would definitely say, for like anyone wondering, yeah, like a lot of my writing is influenced by like the interactions that I've like actually had with people and just like being around people. Um, like, yeah, like I'm around people like right now. Like I'm just in Central Park. That was probably obvious, but yeah, just ruminating on what it means to have like genuine connections over like the one lifetime that we get. Um, and really just feeling the sacredness of that. Um, I don't know. Hopefully, like that's something that influences a lot of the conclusions that I come to within like each of the chapters. And again, I hope people don't like think that like I'm trying to be like super mystical with it or whatever. Um, because like the takes and opinions that I have, again, even though like I might grow as a person and might like change them a bit, like as I go through life, like those are my genuine feelings about the world and about like being in other people's lives and stuff like that. Um, so much so, like I would honestly say that like this book is probably like the most genuine reflection of like me and just how I think as a person that could possibly exist in the world. Um, but yeah, and I feel like the that goes that's also the case for the second book as well. Um, but yeah, I think the second book probably has, I wouldn't say topics that I'm even more interested in, but for the time being, like right now, since I'm still in the midst of writing it, they're topics that I'm finding to be very intriguing to just extrapolate and try to think about. Yeah, so that's very much part of the reason why, like, both with this sale and the one that I had back in March, I just chose to like make the books like free for the sale and stuff like that. Like, you know, um, like just being straight up, I'm not making a lot of money off of these books anyway. But again, like that's fine with me. Like, I genuinely just want to put out like something good into the world, like that like people can actually consume and have it benefit their own lives and their own thinking, in some way, shape, or form. Again, not like trying to tell people what to think or whatever, but just put something out into the world that actually resonates with someone who's perceiving it, and whatever takeaways like mean something to them, like that's enough satisfaction for me. um because yeah, like I said, I work a 9 to 5, so that's my main way of putting food on the table. um I'm not gonna like fiend for people to pay an exorbitant amount of money for my writing. So if I can make it free, then I'll probably do several more promotions in the future where I just make my books free and stuff like that. um Not saying they'll like always be free, but you know, right now it's whatever, and I'm cool with it. So if this stuff adds value to anyone's life out there, that's great. Um, like I genuinely want that. So yeah. Also, I feel like I gotta get like at least a good shot of, I guess, the city behind me, kind of, sort of. Yeah, it's a nice day today, so I figured I'd come out here and just rant to myself while there are other people talking. But it's fine. I don't care. Also, real talk. Um, if anyone out there who like really appreciates the Xenoblade chapter, and that's coming up in my second book, you're a real one. Because I wrote that knowing full well that like most of the people that will inevitably read it probably don't know what Xenoblade is. But if you know, you know. So I hope you like it. um, yeah, like I definitely know that like outside of my friends and family, very few people have actually like bought my book like at all. Um, I don't know, and it's not something that I'm like crying myself to sleep over. especially because I haven't done a good job with the marketing. That's why I started making videos like this. But yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to go into that world of like just trying to make money and be known. Because I'm just reminded of this one line from this singer that I like, John Bellion. Uh, she said something along the lines of, "Being known does not mean that you're successful." Um, Paraphrasing, but yeah, I remember hearing that on one of his songs, and I was like, you know what? He's right. I think that's something that a lot of people don't really realize in the realm of public figures, celebrities, and content creation. Being known does not mean that you're successful. Um, so yeah, just regardless of how my own work like lives outside of me, like how how that's happening and how it's adding value to other people's lives is what's important. But yeah, I think that's enough out of me. I'm all right, gonna end this now, and like I was saying earlier, just literally walk around and wander. Oh, but I will leave links to the book on Smashwords and the other links that you can buy the book at in the description and stuff. So you can get it there. Like I said, it's free, but it's free just on the Smashwords site. I think on the other sites, like you have to like pay like $8 or something like that. Um, but yeah, that's all.